Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. This is part 3 to the little mini series I'm doing surrounding the 2 cases out of Los Angeles, the 2 models who died within 2 days of one another, only less than 3 miles apart from one another. And so we're going to wrap up this little reading series I'm doing related to their cases. Please check out parts 1 and 2. Part 1 delves into Nichole's untimely death, and then part 2 delves into Maleesa's untimely death. And now we're tying up the loose ends and asking questions of the tarot. Okay, so that's what we're doing here today. But before I get into the questions, I only have 6 today. I did want to touch on this deck. I wanted to use this deck as it relates to Nichole's passing, because I did use it in part 2 for Maleesa's reading. And I know police have indicated that they are investigating Nichole's passing as a suspicious death. They have not ruled it a homicide. However, I do understand that our family members can sometimes really intuitively pick up on things that the police may not be able to pick up on. So with that being said, I thought about it and I said, okay, I'm going to use my murder mystery oracle cards. I usually only try to reserve using this deck when I know that we are on the track of determining if there is someone who has taken someone else's life. This is when I like to use this deck. Not always. So the first card that jumped as it relates to Nichole's death is contamination of DNA evidence may be influencing this case. That's concerning. Spirit, is there anything else you wish to reveal about Nichole's passing? Important details are not being revealed to the public at this time. A friend knows something. Okay. Now, this card came up in a pre-reading I did to do a check-in on Nichole's case. It says someone coerced the perp into murdering the victim. That's interesting to me. What I'm saying is this came up when I was just doing a reading between me and the cards, just no video. In addition, there was a card in her reading that says murder for hire. So I find this interesting. That is interesting to me. This crime may be solved by DNA testing or other scientific methods. DNA is going to be of importance. And cell phone records may provide important clues. Okay, let's talk about it. I'm going to move these up here, and then we will... No, I guess I'll just bring them up to you. I won't zoom in. So the first card says contamination of DNA evidence may be influencing this case. Contamination could mean cleaning up the crime scene. It could mean that people that had no intentions of contaminating the scene still contaminated the scene. For example, well-meaning loved ones coming in and finding her and discovering her and maybe touching things. Maybe they didn't, but even just stepping into her apartment could be seen as contamination. And the reason being is that if this were to go to trial, the defense could argue that even just by someone who doesn't know how to handle a crime scene, unwittingly know it's a crime scene, but they go in, they could be contaminated. So there's that. So there's elements of that could be throwing the case. Also, again, I keep seeing a picture of someone cleaning up or someone wiping their fingerprints or taking a glass away that may have implicated a person being in the spot nearer at the time of her death. It could be something along those lines, okay? So we have that. Next up is important details are not being revealed to the public at this time. Law enforcement, smartly so, okay, wise to not reveal everything, is holding back information. They're not jumping to conclusions. They're not willing to put out a bunch of information. They do not feel that there's a threat to the public at this time. That is telling. I know I always tell my viewers, I always give them loving advice to still be aware, be wary. Situational awareness is key. I'm from California, where these ladies have lost their lives. And these ladies were in their homes when they were discovered deceased. And really, you could do everything possible, when you're out and about, to make sure you've got, you looking out, looking around. Where are you? Do you have your pepper spray available? Are you ready to run? Do you see other people about? You could do all that. But people coming into your home also needs to be considered as well. I don't get a sense that with these two cases that this was something where somebody broke and entered into their homes, okay? So this is now just spirit giving us guidance, loving words of just be careful of who you allow into your life. Acquaintances, lovers, friends, colleagues, anyone, because we have to just be vigilant at all times, sadly. That's just where we're at. Okay, so, and that's not to blame the victims at all. I sense that that these victims did everything they possibly could, but now it's like, okay, this is one more thing, one more takeaway from this, is that even in our homes, especially in our homes, we have to be careful. So there's that. But I do sense that police do have more information that is being revealed to the public about Nichole's passing. Remember, these cards are just addressing Nichole. I already did this part of the reading in part 2 for Maleesa. A friend knows something. Now, when this card comes up, it doesn't necessarily mean a friend did something, but a friend may know an important detail that they don't even realize is important. Or maybe they have already revealed this important detail to police. Or maybe they will come forward later and say, I remembered this. I remember this conversation, or I remember her saying this, or she sent me a screenshot of this, or something along those lines. So it doesn't mean that a friend knows something and actually did something. Sure, it could mean that. It could mean that someone who she thought was a friend is actually not a friend. So this is all the things I can think of when it comes to this card. Next up, someone coerced the perp into murdering the victim. This is interesting to me because it came up in a pre-reading I did surrounding Nichole's case. Okay, so when the card keeps coming up the way it does like this, it is really saying, okay, we have to take a closer look at what's being said here. In addition, like I mentioned in part 1, there was a murder for hire oracle card that came up, and I was like, that's interesting. Now, sometimes it may not be for money. It could be that, like this card says, someone coerced someone to help them to do this to her. Someone got some, said, okay, I'm going to give you some drugs if you do this, or in exchange for drugs, I'll do this, or for you, or you do this for me, I do this for you. It doesn't necessarily mean someone is hired per se. It can mean someone doing someone else's bidding. So someone else could be involved or in the know about what happened to Nichole. Okay. This crime may be solved by DNA testing or other scientific methods. Okay. And, that's going to be critical. And so hopefully there is some salvageable DNA evidence that can help crack this case. It could be fingerprints, it could be a little drop of sweat or blood from the perp, or it could be other bodily fluids, etc. Okay, now we have cell phone records may provide important clues. When we're talking about cell phone records, we're talking about text message exchanges, phone calls back and forth to a phone number, or several phone calls coming in or going out to a particular phone number. But it also can represent GPS tracking of the phone, where they have to do geofencing in an area to see if they can hone in on any cell phone activity around her place that isn't accounted for by residents. That would be probably really challenging, I think. I'm no expert, but I think because this is in a metropolitan area, Los Angeles. When I Googled it the other day, they had as of 2021, the population was sitting at 3.849 million people. And then downtown is, heavily populated, I'd imagine, in these high-rise apartment buildings. So I don't know how that goes or how that works versus like in Idaho, for example, like a little rural part of Idaho. It could be a little different, but nevertheless, cell phone records are key, as well as any DNA evidence. What I'm concerned about with the DNA evidence is the fact that this car came up about contamination of it being that could influence the outcome of this case. All right, I'm going to pause here, take a picture as I do, and then we're going to move on to the tarot reading, where I have the questions. We have 6 questions or so that we're going to ask, and then we're going to wrap up these readings for these lovely ladies. I'll be right back. All right, so is there a connection between the 2 cases? Spirit, what can you reveal to us about whether or not there's a connection? We have the Hermit. The Hermit in and of itself would tell me there is likely not an overt connection. Okay. I'm going to show you this Hermit. The Hermit is like standalone, alone, withdrawn, separate. That's what I'm picking up on here. So for me, as it stands now, there does not appear to be a connection. And the officers seem resolute about that with this Hermit card. And that's where it stands today. They do not see a connection, and energetically, I'm not picking up on one. I'm going to pull an oracle just out of curiosity. Spirit, is there a connection between the 2 cases? Uh-oh, careful, girl. Is there a connection? Missing. Okay. So what these 2 cards are telling me is we have missing. There's a missing element, or it's missing or lacking, a lacking of something, a lacking of someone. Hermit, standalone. These cases are not related based on these 2 cards. Now, of course, I could be wrong. Maybe there is some sort of connection between the 2 ladies, but it's not, directly as it relates to how they ended up dying. That could be an example. I get people are very frustrated. I get people are wanting to link it up because there's a lot of coincidences here. These are 2 models who are very near in age. They're near in proximity to each other, near in terms of the profession. They both were going on a date around the time that they ended up being discovered deceased in their own apartments. There's a lot of coincidences there. But I think that what I was picking up on the 2 different readings, the 2 different parts that I did for both ladies, is that what the police are looking at is the manner in which they died. There's a marked difference. Like there's evidence to show that, they died in different ways. So that could be why they're also saying, the police are like, you don't have all of the information, folks. We have some information that would actually refute that they are linked. So that's what I'm picking up on here. What do you all think? Throw some cards. Let me know in the comments section what you think. Is there a direct correlation? My feelings will not be hurt if you have a different intuitive pick up on things, because we are a community here where we can voice our different intuitive hits that come up, or what comes up in our readings, or what we know in terms of our research. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid to voice something differently from me. But that's how I'm interpreting these two cards. All right, next up, what evidence about Nichole's case has led them to believe that it's not related? Son of Earth, the male involved, the person involved. That's what I'm picking up on here with this card. I also would like to know, well, I guess that's answered in part 1, so I won't go there, but I would have liked to know, like, what made them think it's a suspicious death as it relates to Nichole's passing, and not just an outright homicide. But it's something about, it's something about a person, like the person who may have done this, the profile of who may have been responsible, is what I'm picking up on here. I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, my 160 card. 160 card true crime oracle that I plan on expanding. Can you believe it? I'm going to expand this and then make it where people can pick and choose what, expansions they want to build their deck. This is my master one. Probably get to like 200 cards at some point in the future, for me at least. Son of Earth, a person, a profile, a male. The focus of who might have been who they were dating, different, profile, if you will. Regret or remorse. There was a heavy indication of regret or remorse in both cases, but I felt a sense of more regret coming from Nichole than it would have been the perp, I suppose. And in Maleesa's case, there was more regret surrounding the perp towards her. So that was a key thing here, a key difference between the two cases. We have hit and run. The way, you see how she's positioned here? You see that? Sometimes it can be like, okay, something accidental happened when you have a hit and run. Hit and runs don't necessarily mean intentional. Now, it could be intentional that you fled, but it's not, but you may not have been the cause, or you could have caused the death. It was accidental, but then you fled. It could be that energy, and that could be what is showing up in the scene. Also, the way they are positioned, the way the body is laid here. That could be something that's a clue to officers as to why that this is not the same. There's many similarities in the case, but then there's quite a bit of important differences that have not been released to the public, right? False accusations. This could be the false accusations of a serial K being the one that's responsible, or that these are connected by one man. I mean, I suppose that could be what it means when it's all said and done, and maybe the police and myself have it wrong. But this is what I'm answering, the question of what evidence about Nichole's case has led police to feel it's not related to Maleesa's. That's what it is. The position of the body, the manner in which she passed. False accusations. Somebody may be soon, or if not already, behind the scenes being falsely accused, or saying they are falsely accused. They may be rightly accused, but maybe it's not based on reality or based in truth, or it could be the opposite. Someone is trying to deflect and point the blame to somewhere else. So that's what we've got here. Now we're going to ask about what's next in Maleesa's case investigation. Okay. 10 of Cups, repletion. This is a fulfillment of answers, justice for her family. That's good to see. We like that. We like to see that. Ten of Cups can represent end of summer, which is just past. It also could represent, it may take upwards of end of summer next year for answers to come. The cups also represents the timing of days, so it could be 10 days that the family gets more information about who is responsible or what fully happened. Maybe they don't have all the details yet. So there's that. So what's next is there's going to be some movement in the case with water. You know, the water is about movement, quick movement. Spirit wants us to think about that. It's interesting. What about key timing? Fall, autumn, jumped. Key timing elements. I'm going to reshuffle. I want to make sure it's shuffled properly. Okay, Spirit. Anything else in terms of timing as it relates to Maleesa? Key timing elements related to Maleesa's death and the justice that we seek for her. Okay. All right. Let's talk about it. So we have, like I mentioned before, this is traditionally the Ten of Cups or Ten of Water. This is about fulfillment. Fulfillment of what? Justice. Fulfillment of getting answers. Of restoration as best you can when you've lost a family member. And my condolences, my sincerest condolences goes out to both ladies' families and loved ones, because this is just, I can't even imagine being in their position to lose their beautiful daughters in such a horrific way. I'm just so sorry. I'm so sorry. And the next best thing that we can hope for is some form of justice. The Ten of Cups is very a hopeful card. Now, I want to point our attention to this card. It says the M and S words here. So, it could be someone who has threatened this with her before in the past. That they would take their own life. They would take her life, take their own life if they don't get what they want. There could be evidence of that. Witnesses, text messages, conversations, letters, emails. And it also could be that this person still has yet to fulfill that or try to fulfill it. They've already taken her life. They may try to take their own life. So we may hear of that in the future. Okay, so there's that. Something quickly moving here, Ten of Cups. I'm hoping that means that we are going to get some answers sooner than later, like 10 days from now. We'll see. Based on the current energies, we have aiding and abetting. Someone is helping the perp, helping them to keep quiet, helping them to cover up, helping them to get rid of evidence, helping them in just emotional and financial support. Someone is helping or has helped this person. Okay. What else? We have beach and boat. Whenever I get cards that represent near water or water, it can tell me that this is a highly emotional situation. Not just the family grieving, but it could be that this is more than just a stranger danger. I mean, it certainly could be that somebody is just emotionally unstable and out to see what they're thinking and feeling and how they get along with people. But it also could represent, interpersonal relationships. Okay. And it could represent someone who may own a boat or once owned a boat or maybe traveled on a boat with her in the past. Maybe there's pictures where she's on a boat with this person. Something about a boat, being by the water. Maybe they live on a boat. In LA, you got to find cheap housing wherever you can. that they spent time a lot together by the beach on the boat. So it could be something along those lines, I suppose. I'm just gonna move these over here, make room. And then let's look at these timing cards. We have fall, autumn, more information coming about what happened to her. The police eventually finally releasing some more information to the public. The family will probably find out first about what's going on with the investigation. We got today and wee hours. So it could have been, I mean, maybe even as today, you know, that law enforcement is making strides. But it also could represent on the day of. Like maybe she saw this person in the day, and the wee hours is when this happened to her. Like after seeing this person, having an emotional, you know, exchange, and then being helped, or somebody even like someone who she thought was a friend, giving the coast is clear type of situation. Oh, she's alone now. You can go talk to her. And then not realizing, letting in the devil, something along those lines, the wee hours. Look at that high-rise building. Her building wasn't that tall, but you get the gist. Someone who also would appear and come around her in the wee hours. So something along those lines. And then we have not anytime soon. Now, this could just be speaking to not anytime soon in terms of, you know, an arrest, or not anytime soon that this is going to go to trial. Even when an arrest happens, often what that means is that we're going to be in, you know, a few years in at least to getting something to trial and conviction. It's going to take some time, even if this moves quickly, as I think the investigation will, but I think there's going to be some stalling and some delays in terms of, you know, getting the suspect in, having, you know, going through all the steps of building the evidence, getting it to, you know, arraignment, then trial. It's going to be a process. So, you know, having everyone who's following this case to pace themselves, you're in for a long ride, my loves. So that's what this is speaking to. Next question. Will answers and justice come, or what's next? Let's ask this. What's next for, I want to be clear here. What is next for Nichole's case investigation? Daughter of air. It may take some months. Will we get inside? Son of water in reverse. Okay. All right. What's next? Doctor. Autopsy. Waiting for that. Could take a while because it being a big county. Los Angeles is huge. When I worked for the state of California, I was tasked with managing one of my counties that I had to deal with the work, the analytical work that I did was Los Angeles County. Huge. Worked for days and months and years. So, could be a while. That's interesting. So we're asking about, we're asking about what's next for Nichole's case investigation. Like, will we get answers? When we might get answers? So I'm going to move Maleesa's spread over here, because I want to keep things as tidy as possible for my picture that I'm going to take post reading. Y'all know how I do it. I'm kind of anal that way. Very anal, actually. Okay, let's talk about it. Let me show you the oracle. We got doctor, accusations, not to be confused with false accusations, distraction or diversion. And then here, what concerns me about this card is that when it's all said and done, and if the police can't really nail down who did this, who's responsible, or who had a hand in what happened to her, they may, you know, it may could have been something kind of accidental, something kind of went too far with a male here, but they can't really figure out who this male is or link this person to her, and thus they may rule it where it was either self-harm or that she accidentally, you know, something happened accidentally and she lost her life for it at her own hands. This is what concerns me. This is what concerns me. I do sense that we're going to be waiting a little bit longer for more information for her case, because we're going to have to rely on the autopsy with this doctor card. Not only that, with the autopsy, the doctor who's tasked with that, the examiner, I should say, has to also look at past records, past medical records, past psych records, and look at her past, as well as, you know, so basically doing a holistic review, medical review of her, of Nichole, of her past, and, you know, bringing it up to speed, things that may or may not be known to her loved ones. And so there you have it. I am with these two cards sitting next to each other, and I think this card came up in her spread before, like in part 1, that this could be ultimately what they rest on with her case, but it is a distraction or diversion, and someone is actually may get off some responsibility where they should have probably did a little time for their involvement. You know what I'm saying? Accusations are going to be swirling around for months surrounding this case, rightfully so. Accusations maybe against law enforcement, accusations against particular people in her life. So in the Sun of Waters, this is the Knight of Cups in reverse. Makes me a little sad, because it just feels like there's going to be false starts here. There will be some information coming out perhaps in the winter time. Daughter of Air, Page of Swords, represents to me like winter, beginning to midwinter. Represents information coming in, but delayed information. It's going to be some delays coming, and that's because they are going to have to rely on the medical examiner's reports and review and autopsy is what I'm sensing here. And at the end of the day, it's going to be some frustration here, because they're just going to maybe try to say that it was a suspicious death all along. We told you all that. We told you there was no link to Maleesa's death, you know, and they could be accusing, like law enforcement could be accusing the family of kind of spreading misinformation. The family could be accusing law enforcement of not taking her case seriously and not investigating it properly. There could be just accusations going all around. We've got 2 different accusation cards in this spread as it is related to Nichole. Okay, as it's related to Nichole, because this question was question number 2. What evidence about Nichole's case has led police to feel it's not related to Maleesa's? We have this card, false accusations. We have this card for the question about what's next for Nichole's investigation. And, you know, will answers come? They will, but I don't know if we're going to be ultimately satisfied with what comes, right? I'm going to pull some timing cards and we'll wrap up the reading at this point. Spirit, what are some important timing elements as it relates to Nichole's case? December, okay, that ties in. It will take a while. I know, Spirit. Thank you. I feel like Friday came up. I think it was her reading in part 1. All right, so let's talk about it. We have December. It will take a while, which I feel that's the case. December also ties in with Daughter of Air. Perhaps that's when we finally get some concrete answers, when all the talks reports are in. And that would be kind of, yeah, I think that would be on point, right? Because we are now we're almost through. Actually, we're almost through September, so we're going to October, November. It takes a while to get autopsy tox reports back in. It could be December when news is finally released on what police think happened here. So it's going to take a while. I'm recording this reading as of Monday, September 25th, 2023. Friday is of importance. It could be a Friday that the information is revealed, like law enforcement waiting till Friday to release the information. It could also be Friday is of importance to this case. Something happening on Friday, her going out Friday night, her, hanging out with a particular person or persons on a Friday night. Friday is of importance. And it will take a while for either us to get answers or for us to really try to understand what happened, for her family to get closure, which makes me sad. Of course, this is energy. This is like me being a weather forecaster. Sometimes storms could blow through and change course and have us go in a different direction, but based on the current energies, we're looking at this is going to take a while. And then up in the air, undecided. Up in the air, undecided. Law enforcement is still undecided about her, about what really happened to Nichole. And I think that's a good thing. I think seeing this is good because it would make me sad if they've already just reached the conclusion that she didn't die at the hands of someone else. And, people die at the hands of someone else all the time, whether it was intentional on the person who caused the death or not. And so it makes me nervous when they're already coming out with a conclusion and they haven't even finished the tox reports or the autopsy or really, doing all the interviews for witnesses or getting all the records in from the cell phone towers. It takes a while to get all these things. So I'm actually encouraged to see this. Okay? Up in the air, undecided is actually a good card to get. All right? That's where we're at. Now, of course, we could revisit this case, maybe in December. Maybe this is what Spirit is telling us. Don't keep coming back and forth to the reading table until December or until major developments have happened. And I'm going to respect that. So, my friends, I think we are done. I'm going to take a picture of the cards. And I want to thank you all for hanging in there with me as I did this case. It's 3 videos. And I know it's a lot. I know it's heavy. This is why I have to take breaks from time to time doing these types of readings. Give you all a break, give myself a break, give the spirits a break. And I am grateful to Spirit for revealing what was, for us to receive. Sometimes Spirit tries to protect us because it could be horrific. What could be unknown at this point, what police and what her family truly know about, like, for example, Nichole's condition or, what really happened to Maleesa. It's sometimes better that we as the public don't know all the details right away until more answers are revealed, and I respect that. Please, on your way out, don't forget to hit the like button. It does help the channel immensely when you do that, and I thank you for doing that. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I do these types of readings from time to time, these mystery mystic readings, maritime mysteries, as well as I also do, videos pertaining to collecting decks, working with decks, different kinds of spreads you could use that I've come up with. If you are a reader, I also like to, from time to time, help people navigate life and just topics. And I'm getting into celebrity readings when I'm called to do them. So there's something here on this channel for everyone, and I'm always open to suggestions or cases you'd like me to explore in the future. In fact, I am planning on swinging back to my list of cases that people have suggested to me, cold cases, people who are personally tied to cases. I do keep a list, and I don't always get to the cases right away, but I do keep a list so that way when I get downtime, I can then go ahead and do them on the channel. All right, my friends, take very, very good care of yourselves. Have an amazing week. I send love to each and every one of you. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.